Now that the Leafs aren't going to do anything for the next week, and I know they're a big part of your bread and butter here. Like, how does that affect your work schedule?
I'm just not going to work. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, unfortunately, and it's fine because I like this, but part of my job is to do this, cover what's going on in the league too, right? And so, even though there aren't games being played, I guess what it means is I won't be going to any practices or games, but we're going to want a lot of coverage on the Olympic decision, how that came to be, what the plans are to restart. If this ends up being a longer pause for some teams, what does that mean? I mean, what I learned actually during the first go around or the first real wave of the pandemic is that the job doesn't even end when there are no games. Like back in March and April and May of 2020, I was still working. And there was a huge demand. I was working at Sportsnet at the time, but a huge demand from my bosses to cover like the shit, how the bubble setup was coming into focus and what the plans were, how the playoffs were going to work, all that stuff. If you remember, everything has been done differently. Like it starts to feel normal after a while, but they had like that 2014 return to play in 2020. And we had the huge realignment last year and a different schedule. I think some of those questions need to be asked again too, with the border travel issue is, are they going to have to on the fly reorganize into a North Division again? I don't know the answer today, but I think, that's a window into the kind of things that I'm going to now be pursuing instead of, talking about the games maybe as much or some of the storylines that come out of the games. And so, it never really ends, which is fine. I mean, it's good. This is, it beats working for a living. Right. So, but it does feel weird. I think the Leafs last played at home, I want to say December 11th, they had a home game on a Saturday night against Chicago. And then they went on a Western Canada road trip. They were out there for a week. They played one game, the game in Edmonton. Calgary was postponed, then Vancouver and Seattle. They're supposed to have a game on the 23rd, an afternoon game. It's actually become one of the neat things they do. The Leafs never play in the afternoon ever, except on December 23rd. The last few seasons, they've played an afternoon game right before the holiday break and had a bunch of kids in the building. And it's actually been a really cool thing. And like, it just kind of has it's like the start of the sort of Christmas season feels like, by that point, the kids are off school, so they're able to come. Anyway, it's sorry to see that go. And then on the other side of the break, they play Columbus. They're scheduled the 27th on the road, and then a home game against another American team. I'm like, are those games going to even be played? Like, it really. Anyway, it feels to me like this is going to be a longer pause. Like I could see. I know the league's going to do as much as it can, so it might not be a total pause for the league, but I'm just not sure how they're going to. Maybe they reschedule so the Canadian teams just play each other for a short period of time on the other side of Christmas. Try to redo things that way. Needless to say, I think that there's a lot of unanswered questions about how the NHL is going to go forward, Julian. And so that's what's going to take up my workspace, but, hope to get a few quiet days, around the 25th and, because what else can you do at this time? You gotta try to find the good things where you can.
CJ, you kind of mentioned something that has my mind jogging a little bit here. Canadian teams possibly playing against each other. Could we get like a mini Canadian division all over again?
I would say it's possible. It really depends on what kind of measures the government brings into effect here, right? And how long this goes for. Like, that's the one thing I haven't been able to get my mind around. I mean, we're seeing the variant spread like wildfire. Obviously, we can just take it through the NHL lens. We went from a very small percentage of the league on COVID protocol to 10% in days, and it could still reach more. Obviously that's partly why we've seen 7 or 8 teams shut down already, is just keeping those teams where there's been an outbreak completely apart to try to minimize, how much that spreads happens among those teams. But, if it goes on for another month and you can't travel across the border, and I don't look, what else do you do? Maybe you just have those teams play all their games with each other now and then reschedule the games against the American teams, hopefully for, closer to the spring when you expect things to be better. I mean, I have to think everything's on the table. Sports have been reimagined during this whole 2-year period or 21-month period. Just the way everything's been done. Like, we have no normal calendar anymore, right? We have no everything. It was almost like you could set your watch to the sporting calendar if you were a big enough sports nerd. Like, you knew like which week, like the NCAA tournament starts and this is going on and this is going on, and then the Masters happens, and but all that has been turned upside down. And so, I think the NHL's really prided itself on switching things up on the fly. And so it's probably a little premature to say that's going to happen, but you can't say it won't happen.
Okay. I'm going to break the rule again and try to just add another distraction here, only because you said Masters. And this is just going to come just before the last question I have to do with COVID. But because you mentioned golf, I assume you watched Tiger Woods and Charlie over the weekend?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How cool was that? How cool was that?
It was what we need at times like this. If you can be in it, like, you don't even have to be a golf fan to see kind of the pride that Tiger has for Charlie. I mean, I think what's cool is like Charlie Woods is 12, right? And who knows what's going to – this is the danger. And I was tweeting about him, like, because I was excited and it was fun to watch. But, like, you really don't want to hype up anything because things can change. But, like, he looks like he loves it. Like, it's not just that he's good at it. Like, he's – like, if he was feeling any pressure, did you get any sense of that? Like, he hit that shot on 17, like, where he went over the water. It's like 170 yards. He's a 12-year-old. He just, like, carves an iron into 5 feet, like, when they're, like, right at the lead. And, like, he does the whole club twirl. Like, man, it was awesome. Like, it was hilarious to see because Tiger didn't look like he was taking it that seriously, really, naturally.
Yeah.
But, like, his kid was, like, adopting the game face for them, right? Like, Tiger just looked like he was having fun and just sort of enjoying the experience of it all. And then Charlie looked like he was like, come on, Dad, we got to win this thing. So yeah, that was wholesome content. It was a lot of fun. You know, Charlie's got 8 years now to win the Masters at an age younger than Tiger won in 1997. So, you know, if he, based on what you're seeing, like if he just continues to love the sport and work at it, it's hard to imagine, given his bloodlines and given how good he already is, that he won't at least find some kind of professional career in it.
Man, I just like seeing all the memes and all the videos online and stuff. Like, I think Tiger Woods is one of the best athletes we've ever seen. But so to see like one of his kids like take up after him, I'm just like, the world of pressure that's going to follow this kid. And he looked like he just looked like it was just nothing for him out there. And he's 12. I didn't know he was 12.
12, bud. Like, it's insane. You know, I played golf when I was 12, and I tell you, I still haven't hit a shot like the one he hit on 17 all these years later. So, like, that was insane. Like, in the moment is what the cool part is. Like, because for him, there has to be some degree of pressure there. Like, I know the rest of us view this like it's a father-son tournament. It's just a fun thing that the PGA Tour does every year in December. You know, just kind of, it's a cool event. Like, it's actually neat to see like Justin Thomas with his dad, but then some of the players with their younger, you know, children. And so, but if you're Charlie Woods, like, you probably have been excited about that for months, since whenever you knew you were going to play. And then you get there and you guys make 11 birdies in a row. You got a chance to win. And he's like hitting all these shots. Like, anyway, that was, that, you know, it's a good reminder that sports outside of the business part sometimes, like, that there's still like those nice, I just thought it was nice. And he looked like he had so much fun seeing them hug afterwards. Like, it didn't matter they didn't win in the end. Like, it was a cool event. And yeah, I think something we'll all remember, especially if he goes on and becomes what looks to me like he's on the way to doing.